folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video we will be discussing a detailed analysis of what is the reason behind Pakistan and Afghan Taliban's rivalry. What once Pakistan claimed that it is the creator is now fearing from that. Why so, we will be dissecting in this video. First and foremost, we will have a breakdown of from the beginning up until the current situation. Now when we have to do something like that, what is the root cause? If you see the prime thing between your Afghanistan and Pakistan, here we will see. See, first thing, when I tell the root cause between your Afghanistan and Pakistan, there is one issue that has been there since 1800s. What is that issue? If you see, that is the Afghan identity. Afghanistan's core identity was questioned and challenged in the year 1893. What happened in the year 1893? Like as usual, the British had an agreement between Sir Henry Mortimer Durrand from the British India side and Amir Abdur Rahman, aftermath of your Second Anglo-Afghan War. They signed an agreement, understanding, that is what led to the so-called Durrand line. This is part of your great game of your British in trying to set the boundary for your British India. Now this Durrand line divided in that point of time in Afghanistan. What was in between of your division was your Pashtun tribes. Their entire families were divided because of this. Now this was not accepted by your Pashtuns or Afghans. Now if you see the Durrand line, that is between your, now look at this picture, very clearly look at this. This so-called red highlighted line, this is the Durrand line, that is the line of demarcation between the influence of what was to be called as your British India. Understanding? Now what was to be your British India was inherited in 1947 by Pakistan as its boundary, and it has been pressing for this line to be recognized as the boundary. Now this is the first major contention between your Afghanistan and Pakistan, that is the Durrand line. It is almost 2000 kilometers. Now this particular line has been the issue from 1893 to 2025, where Afghanistan tells that it divides their entire tribe, the biggest tribe of Afghanistan and second largest tribe of Pakistan, that is your Pashtun people. Understanding? So Afghanistan does not recognize Durrand line. Understanding? So this is the first anger or the first let's say the issue between your Pakistan and Afghanistan. If you see your Durrand line, it is where your Hindu Kush mountains, Khyber Pass and all of these are there. So your Pashtuns have always rejected this division. If you see the second part, okay, in the story of your Pakistan, Afghanistan and Afghan Taliban, what led to the rise of your Taliban? First and foremost, the story here also will date back to the period of 1978, which saw a revolution in Afghanistan, wherein your Afghanistan enters, like as it is a story I will tell you, you listen to it like the story itself. Your Afghanistan pe Russia wanted to bring a communist influence. Understanding? So it wanted communist power in Afghanistan because your Afghanistan is the gateway to the Central Asia, and anyone which controls the route to Central Asia controls the other half of the entry. So your Soviet Union wanted its influence in the Afghanistan. So what it did was it brought a communist party in power, PDP. Now when this communist party came in, it brought in a lot of reforms which were too radical for the Afghan people, especially your rural elements. Okay, they felt like it was too radical and too modernization reform that did not sit well in the traditional landscape, and it did not sit well with the rural communities. So there was lot of anti-government protests that are going on. Understanding? Now your USA and your Western allies are seeing the influence of Soviet in Afghanistan as an invasion. Now what they wanted to do was raise a section in Afghanistan to fight against this particular communist party. Already the rural people and the traditional elements were angry at the radicalization and changes and reforms and modernization that was brought in. So these people played fodder and fuel to that. So the Soviet troops had to intervene. Okay, they brought cities under the Soviet control, and the rural areas were now getting more and more increasingly agitated. So the warlords there formed a group called as Mujahideens. Understanding? Now these Mujahideens were supported by your USA, they were supported by China, Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. All of these people participated and supported them in order to give funds, weapons, training. In this, Pakistan also played a very important role in order to provide funding, in order to provide training, in order to provide weapons. So all of those were, even your Western let's say allies were also directing the funds through your Pakistan. So this was a 9-year war, one side between your Soviet and one side between your Mujahideens. Next what happened, the issue came as the Soviet left. Understanding? The Soviet army left. Now is where the real issue starts. See, with respect to Afghanistan, it was a land which was converted into a proxy war by your Western people. That is your US on one side, USSR one side, everyone is just using Afghanistan as a ground for fight, but in reality the ones who suffered was the Afghan people. So many civilians, women, children, they became more of a sacrifice for these people's ambition. So now what happened, once your Soviet left, now the Afghan government was alone left to fend and also to deal with the Mujahideens. Understanding? So this created a lot of power vacuum. The people were already fed up. Once they were fed up with the Western influence and now with the Mujahideens, the Afghan government, finally the Mujahideens captured Kabul in 1922. Now you have a background. You have Soviet, you have Afghan government, now you have Mujahideen. Now comes the entry of Taliban 1994 onwards. What led to the rise of Taliban means, the people were frustrated. The people were frustrated with Afghan government. People were frustrated with your Mujahideens. People were frustrated with their Western allies. They were frustrated about all the elements trying to pry on them, and they were not having any ounce of something called as peace. At that point of time, the Pashtun term for Taliban is students. It means students. A group of religious students, seeing all the people coming and tearing open of their land, now decided we will take back the power and we will run our country through your Islamic ways. And one of the things that they decided was they will weed out corruption, they will bring forward true Islamic way of living. So they seized Kandahar in 1994, and they were the Islamic fundamentalists who were basically trained in Pakistan refugee camps. Now what happened, eventually in 1994 they captured Kandahar, 1995 they captured Herat, and in 1996 finally they captured Kabul. By almost 1998, 3/4 of Afghanistan was under their control. This version of Taliban, whatever we are calling, let's call it Taliban version 1 or Taliban 1.0. Understanding? So, at this point of time, there is Talibans, there is Mujahideens. The Mujahideens warlords fled north in order to escape from the Talibans. Then eventually they joined something called Northern Alliance. Remember this word Northern Alliance, little bit later it will again make a comeback into our statement. So these people, when they fled to the north, the Northern Alliance was formed, and finally the story was between your Northern Alliance and Taliban. Okay, the story is set forward for Northern Alliance versus Taliban as to who will finally take control. Your Pakistan, USA, Saudi Arabia, etc. all supported Mujahideens, and also your Soviets withdraw, communist regimes collapsed. Okay, then at the final all of this, the Taliban in 1994 emerged very strongly. Understanding? Now when they came into power, initially even the people supported to an extent. Why? They were thinking that at least these people will bring the so much needed reform. Initially they did try to do that with respect to your weeding out of corruption, and also in order to bring in laws, it kind of became more of very fundamentalistic. Okay, very severe laws were now trying to be brought into the picture. Okay, so they were mostly your religious students from your Pakistan, madrasas, Afghanistan. Now when they rose to power, they promised that they will bring back law and order. They will end warlord corruption of your Mujahideens, and they promised Sharia based justice, which again spoke to the people that yes, it's enough high time, let us now bring forward the peace that our land requires. Now your Pakistan was one of the most instrumental factor with respect to the Taliban 1.0 is because they were from your Taliban mainly were from your trained in the refugee camps of Pakistan. Pakistan provided ample amount of training, funds, etc. Why did your Pakistan take an interest in this Taliban? First and foremost, your Pakistan had this narrative that your India is its main enemy, at least according to Pakistan. It said India is its main enemy, and it wanted to make sure that it will not allow India to corner Pakistan from both sides, either on the eastern strip or on the western strip. Now, if at all India comes to attack, your Pakistan needs a place to retreat, recoup and come back. So that it needs a friendly government in Kabul. So if it needs a friendly government in Kabul, which means they have to be on the lines of what Pakistan tells, and Pakistan should be able to control that. For that it felt that this Taliban would be the right fit for them. Understanding? So Pakistan wanted to use Afghanistan in order to counter India, one objective. Second is, as this is the most important pathway into the Central Asia. So if Pakistan controls Afghanistan, then it would control the pathway or the gateway into Central Asia. So it wanted to install a friendly government in Kabul and also create trade routes to Central Asia. And it also did not want India to have any relationships in Afghanistan. It was more of wanting to isolate India and Afghanistan. So what did it do? Training camps, weapon supply, logistic supply, safe havens, everything they needed it provided. Even financial support was funded by your Saudi Arabia, UAE. Pakistan even facilitated the funds, even it went on to recognize it. It also started doing a lot of diplomatic lobbying for Taliban. It even requested other Muslim member states to recognize Taliban. So Taliban also started a good amount of expansion, like we discussed Kandahar, Herat, Kabul. By 1998, almost 90% of Afghanistan is under the control of your Taliban. Now when the Taliban rule started from 1996 to 2001, this is the phase that we will be calling as Taliban 1.0. Now what was the type of governance that they brought in? There was a strict Sharia law. They brought in public flogging. They even decided that women should no need to get an education, especially children or girl children above the year of age 8 need not have to get education. And also if a woman has to go out, they have to be accompanied by male members. Male members had to grow full amount of beard. Women members had to wear complete burqa that even covers the face. And basically they were bringing back a mix of Sharia and Pashtun tribes. Okay. Alongside this, there was also complete religious policing, moral policing, public flogging, right? and there was no need of any constitution or democracy. They wanted to bring forward a more of a true Islamic let's say emirates. Now before we move ahead as to what happens in the 1.0 rule, we have a small announcement from Legacy IAS Academy. Now if you are someone who wants to kickstart your UPSC civil service preparations, look no further, you have found the right spot with Legacy IAS Academy, wherein we maintain our batch strength at strictly 40 member per limit so as to provide personalized attention and guidance. One of the reasons you have to choose Legacy IAS Academy is we provide one-on-one mentorship, easy access to educators. We also provide daily mains answer writing challenge, prelims mock test series, interview mock test panels, complete holistic current affairs classes, CSAT classes. We also conduct our sessions in both offline as well as online mode. For those of you who are working professionals or students, you can avail our services in the weekend courses. For more information, you can check out Legacy IAS Academy website or contact the number given. Now coming back to the topic. When Taliban is ruling like this, complete strict enforcement of what it calls is proper form of following the codes of Shariat, how was the international reaction? Complete isolation. Complete isolation means international isolation. There was UN sanctions. There was also recognition of this Taliban rule only by 3 countries. That was your Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and UAE. Even in this Taliban 1.0 phase, what Pakistan thought was its diplomatic gain or a diplomatic milestone was again here also marred by your issues and controversies. What are these issues or controversies? First and foremost, your primary issue, Durand line. Even Taliban 1.0, for that matter, any government in Afghanistan did not give recognition to Durand line. No one recognized Durand line. Every single particular government or organization or even Taliban 1.0 did not recognize Durand line. Now, even some of the Taliban leaders were resenting the control of ISI, and they were almost like they wanted to create a sense of more towards Afghanistan than as an ally or a substitute or a proxy of Pakistan. Then comes the next part in the relations of your Pakistan and Taliban relations. As of now, yes, the relationships are there, good, the first phase. But here the relationship is not rock solid. There were cracks, especially like with respect to your Durand line, wanting us, especially some factions within Taliban, internal factions were also there which did not want more of your control of Pakistan or ISI on it. This further accentuated that. What is the next phase? The post 9/11 phase or beginning of the mistrust phase. See, when your Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden attacked the USA, 9/11 attacks happened, USA wanted Osama bin Laden to be given, but your Taliban shielded it. And in fact, Al-Qaeda was hosted by your Taliban. US strictly demanded Osama bin Laden, Taliban refused, then led to your US invasion of Afghanistan. Now, in aspect of what we are trying to tell is, your USA, in order to capture Osama bin Laden, first and foremost it said, I am going to wage a war on Taliban itself. If I am going to wage a war on Taliban, then all the leaders fled to the Pakistan. But one of the main things here, your USA, when it was trying to tackle with respect to Taliban attacking on Afghanistan, first thing it went is to your Pakistan. Are you on the side of USA or are you on the side of Taliban? Now Pakistan here had dual intentions. A, it wanted to be on the good side of USA. B, it did not want to lose Taliban. So what it thought was, if it continued playing the double game or the double appeasement, eventually USA would leave and Taliban will come back to power, then again we can try to isolate India, Afghanistan and gain strategic benefits from your Central Asian gateway. So your Pakistan was doing the double game. Openly, publicly it supported your USA on the war of terror, but privately it protected Taliban. Understanding? Because Taliban was its future asset. So how did the Pakistan's double strategy be at this point of time? A, it cooperated with US with all its air bases, with all the intelligence sharing, and so much so that even it allowed for arrest of some of the Al-Qaeda leaders also. Then how did it secretly support Taliban? If you see, it started providing safe havens for all the leaders who were fleeing from Afghanistan. It started giving them regrouping, training, medical treatment, fundraising, so much so that all of these were done in your Pakistan soil. At this point of time, there was a rift in the ideology of your Taliban itself. Rift as in two Talibans were created, or what Pakistan goes on to call as good Taliban and bad Taliban. Now, both the Taliban's pair, one faction is your Afghan Taliban, which fought against your US and NATO in Afghanistan. It fought against the Western influence in Afghanistan. The second Taliban is your TTP or Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which was formed in 2007. It was also inspired by your Afghan Taliban, and its major rule was or goal was to bring Sharia rule in Pakistan. It started attacking Pakistan army, civilians, police. Your Peshawar school attack in 2014 was also carried out by them. Now your Pakistan says that your Afghan Taliban is good Taliban. Your TTP is, that is your Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, is bad Taliban. So this strategy was decided by your Pakistan, and this led to more of corroding of your relations. Now finally, in the phase of 2001 to 2021 era, if we see, why am I calling this an era means, your US backed government started coming up in your Afghanistan. That is from your Karzai to your Ashraf Ghani government. In this phase, democracy, at least on paper, was tried to be put in, reforms were tried to be made. India opened good amount of relationships with Afghanistan. Okay, it invested heavily. So India went in with the humanitarian aid, assistance, all of this started. This phase, this specific phase, Pakistan started having serious worries and troubles, where again India will get closer to Afghanistan. Okay. Now in this, your Pakistan facilitated for talks between your Taliban and USA from the period of 2018 to 2020. That is, at this point of time, there was also a government change in USA with the entry of US President Donald Trump. So they went in for a tailored Doha talks, wherein Pakistan facilitated, but your Taliban was directly negotiating with USA. So finally, according to your Doha agreement in 2020 February, US agreed to withdraw from your Afghanistan. Understanding? Now, this was two things. Your Afghan Taliban decided that A, we don't need Pakistan to act as a diplomatic convoy, or we don't have to be in Pakistan's shadow to have a negotiation. We can do that on our own. Understanding? The second thing was, once your Taliban decided that it was going to take over from this phase, that is 2021 phase, where the Taliban came back into Afghanistan, it took over most of Afghanistan or all of Afghanistan without any major resistance. This 2021 phase of Taliban, we will call it as Taliban 2.0. When Taliban came back in, your Pakistan was very happy, thinking that yes, we have harbored them, we have protected them for so long, they will still be very loyal to us, they will recognize Durand line, they will open up our Central Asian Gateway like how we tell. Any of the negotiation Afghanistan will do, it will only be under the control of your Pakistan and ISI. So this was its assumption. But what reality had in store was very different, which shook Pakistan. Your US withdrawal in 2021, Taliban saw it as a victory. Taliban is now of the opinion that it beat USA, it beat NATO, it beat USSR. So it doesn't need Pakistan help. Second thing, now when it is wanting to take over Afghanistan, it doesn't want to be a puppet government or any shadow or proxy of Pakistan, but an independent rule. So when April 2021 the US announced the exit, the first thing is your August 2021 Taliban enters Afghanistan without any major resistance. The Afghan government collapses. Pakistan celebrates so much so that your Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan even goes on to tell that Taliban broke the shackles of slavery. So when the Taliban came back to Afghanistan, these were all the ideas that your Pakistan had Afghanistan will do because of its loyalty to Pakistan. What was those things? First thing is it wanted Afghanistan to formally recognize and accept the Durand line. Second thing is take strict action against your TTP or according to it the bad Taliban. Third is stop giving sanctuary to militants who are against Pakistan and limit India's influence and follow Pakistan's foreign policy, and any policy of Afghanistan has to be run by your Pakistan first, and allow for complete Pakistani military influence in Afghanistan and support the economic projects of your Pakistan. So basically what Pakistan wanted was just a client state in Afghanistan. But what Taliban was prepared to do and what it went on to do is where reality struck in and shocked Pakistan. First and foremost, Pakistan said we are an independent country and we do not come under any country. And so much so that they went on, especially post year 2021, within the Taliban itself, there was a lot of changes in the leadership. Real powers were moved towards your Kandahar leaders. Rather than Pakistani leaders, the power moved to your Kandahar leaders such as your Hibatullah, who sidelined the Pakistani leaders and Pakistani loyalists. Next thing Taliban went ahead to do is it rejected the Durand line. One of the main reasons is it says that the Muslims don't need borders, and they went on to destroy Pakistan's fence, the Taliban soldiers, and even attacked Pakistani soldiers. One of the things your Taliban feels, Afghan Taliban feels about the Durand line is, Durand line was forced upon them by the British. So they will not recognize it. First thing. Second thing is this Durand line comes between the nationality and integration of your Pashtun tribes. They want free movement of the Pashtuns without any borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan, vis-a-vis indicating that they are completely rejecting Durand line on all bases. Next is Taliban protected the TTP. Now Pakistan should have seen this coming. Your TTP and your Afghan Taliban are not very different. They are having same ideology. They are coming from same level of negotiations. They are almost cousins. Why would they fight their own people? Obviously, when TTP attacks have increased, especially since your 2021, TTP attacks have increased on Pakistan and Afghan Taliban's defend TTP. To an extent that when Pakistan tells to take stern actions, Afghan Taliban has held to Pakistan that whatever Pakistan is facing is because of its own actions and it will not interfere in other countries' relations. And the Taliban 2.0, Afghan Taliban promotes Pashtun dominance. That is, they claim that let's assume if this is Durand line, there are Pashtuns living in both sides of the border. Understanding? Now when they tell this is a threat to your Pakistan's territorial integrity, because they tell there should be no border and free movement for your Pashtun people. And another thing is, Taliban on its own, without the need of Pakistan, built ties with China, Iran, Russia, Qatar, Turkey, Central Asia, and even went on to improve ties with India. This is something that your Pakistan could not digest. It also allowed Indian aid. It even opened diplomatic engagement, which was a clear eye-opener to Pakistan that Taliban cannot be a puppet. Then comes the core main reasons, that is from 2021 to 2025, whatever we see the rule of a Taliban, Afghan Taliban 2.0, what is the core reasons for the rivalry? From what was the creator friendly to the foe, what happened is, first and foremost, Taliban rejects any national borders. So much so it wants to be called Islamic Emirate, and it does not want to be under your Pakistan control. Another main aspect is your ethnic reasons, that is your Pashtun nationalism has intensified under Taliban 2.0 or Afghan Talibans, where more than 40 to 45 million Pashtuns are in Pakistan and 15 to 20 million are in Afghanistan. It is the first largest ethnic section in your Afghanistan, and second is in your Pakistan. Taliban started strengthening your Pashtun nationalism and also Islamic Emirate, which means that they are condensing their power and trying to be independent. And another thing is, they wanted the Taliban government which will be filled with Pashtun people. So much so that your Pashtun, now when we ask this question as to so what is wrong if Pashtun identity is strengthened? If Pashtun identity is strengthened, your Pakistan's territory or sovereignty becomes threatened. Why? Because the region they are focused is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan region. Okay, this region Pakistan does not want to sever, and it feels that it hurts their sovereignty. And another thing is, the Pakistan fears Greater Pashtunistan, which means 2 of its major territories will be taken off. Second thing is the security reasons. Ever since your Taliban 2.0 or Afghan Taliban 2021 say they have taken over, the attacks from TTP has intensified on Pakistan. So much so that one thing your Pakistan had to see was, Afghan Taliban and TTP are ideological brothers. They have the same networks, they have fought together, and your Afghan Taliban refuses to do a crackdown on TTP because it tells it wanted attack on its own people. Now, if you see with respect to your Durand line, Taliban 1.0 has rejected it, Taliban 2.0 has rejected it, and Taliban, one of the most important thing it tells is it wants to have an open Pashtun movement of people, whereas your Pakistan wants a fenced border. So this fenced border itself is viewed as illegal, not necessary. So constantly TTP attacks the border. Understanding? So now from the tension which was there to it became an open conflict was what happened post your 2021. Taliban started destroying your Pakistan's border fence. Pakistan called it more of an attack. Afghanistan called it is illegal. This border fence itself is illegal. It started fighting its Pakistani troops. Now if you see the major border shootouts where it was occurring, one is your Spin Boldak Chaman region, next is your Torkaham crossing. Your Taliban had crossed this crossing claiming that your Pakistan was entering into the sovereignty of Taliban and it was affecting Taliban sovereignty. Because of your Torkaham crossing, Pakistan lost millions in trade. It is not just a crossing, but it is also the gateway into the Central Asia. Because of which what happened, Pakistan continued to do airstrikes in Afghanistan in your April 2022. Where did it target? It bombed Khost and Kunar regions, these villages. Pakistan did the airstrike in these areas, telling that it was targeting your TPP outlets, that is TTP outlets. Now what happened? Many civilians, mostly women and children, more than 45 women and children died. Taliban was furious and it even condemned the attack, claiming it was more of inhumane thing to do. This also expanded to an intelligence warfare between your ISI and your GDI, that is your General Directorate Intelligence of Taliban. So both started, even though it is not a physical confrontation, it was a silent warfare between both of them in the intelligence warfare. Now in this, what Pakistan thought was, yes, what is the conflict between us will remain like that, but it spread on with when Taliban started opening its major game player with trying to have a diplomatic relationships with other country or reach out to other countries without the help or need of Pakistan. The first thing is with respect to India we will discuss. See, when I told earlier when we were discussing about your Mujahideens and Taliban, the Mujahideens went ahead and formed a Northern Alliance. Initially, India supported the Northern Alliance, understanding? And especially during the Ashraf Ghani, that is when US backed government came in, India invested heavily, almost $3 billion. It started building parliament, highways, dams, schools, hospitals, provided humanitarian aid, gave wheat, medicines. It also started a mission, that is reopened its mission in Kabul. So it was good pragmatic engagement. With respect to China, China wants to use, see, first and foremost, China wants strategy. It always thinks about in a strategic manner, as in it wants the zone of Afghanistan to be supportive for China, because it has invested heavily in your Belt and Road initiatives. And it wants good amount of minerals, and it does not want Taliban or your Uyghur Muslims militants to come in there. Taliban did promise that it will do that, but it is more of considered like a broken promise. It couldn't fulfill it completely. And it engages, China engaged with Taliban directly, which meant what? It reduced Pakistan's, let's say in this Pakistan's whole strategy was, it is the one that is controlling Taliban. But now that itself broke because Taliban is directly engaging with China. Then what happened is its involvement with Russia. Even Russia historically had backed the Northern Alliance, but after 2015 it started having contact with Taliban. It even started engaging more with Taliban to counter your US influence. It invited Taliban for Moscow talks. It even wants Central Asian stability. It doesn't trust Pakistan much. It even wants to recognize Taliban. Okay. And another important thing that if you see presently current is your Taliban foreign minister visits India. Taliban acting minister Amir Khan Muttaqi visited India. And he met with External Affairs Minister of India, yes, Jayanagara, and this is the highest level of contact that we have had since 2021. Now here India has not officially recognized Taliban, but yet it is going on with engagement. What did they discuss? Humanitarian aid, regional security, connectivity routes, development project, counter terrorism, one of the important things. That came as a major shock to your Pakistan. And also if you see from 2024 to 2025 how the situation is, TTP has increased attacks on Pakistan. It uses Afghan soil to conduct attacks on Pakistan. It attacks Pakistani soldiers and civilians, and still Afghan Taliban refuses to act against your TTP. So much so as on the day that we are speaking, which is October 14th, yes, on 12, 13, 14, this period of time when a diplomatic week-long mission is taking place in India from your Afghan, this itself has again brought in a fight in the border between the border. As of now, the Afghan-Pakistan border is one of the most sensitive areas in the South Asia region. Again, there are attacks happening right now. Pakistan's military response is completely airstrikes inside Afghanistan, artillery shelling on border villages, and they are targeting your TTP camps. Taliban is also equally speaking in the strong worded language, and it is also speaking on retaliation. So much so that the major flashpoint regions are your Boldog Chaman, Torkom Crossing and Kunar Bazaar region. In these events, Taliban has closed its borders, the soldiers are killed on both sides, Pakistan's trade is getting lost, and each time the border fences are being destroyed by your Taliban soldiers. And now in this, when Pakistan tries to rebuild the border fence, the Taliban people are showing the guns to the Pakistan soldiers. So it has become an open outright confrontations. Diplomatic hostility is also being seen, where both are publicly accusing each other from both Afghan Taliban as well as your Pakistan. Taliban is calling Pakistan as un-Islamic, Pakistan is calling Taliban supports terrorism. Almost the diplomatic ties are broken. In this, to further accentuate the situation, Afghan refugees who entered Pakistan. Initially, Pakistan was welcoming of Afghanistan refugees in the form of its great plan. But amidst all this happening, in the first phase, Pakistan is returning, or it is more of expelling the Afghanistan refugees who had entered without valid documents into Pakistan. But in the second phase, it is even doing that for people who entered with valid documents also. The families are displaced, humanitarian crisis is increasing, Taliban is calling it very angry on this, and it calls it as a very inhumane move of your Pakistan. Alongside this, Taliban has increased its outreach with respect to ignoring Pakistan and engaging with your China for minerals and infrastructure, engaging with Iran for oil and border cooperation, engaging with Russia for regional security, engaging with Central Asia for electricity and trade, and it is engaging with the Gulf states for funding. So it is no longer depending on your Pakistan, and to counter it, understanding diplomatically, it is even engaging with India. So much so the Afghan Taliban has even went on to call that it is important to have good ties with India. Understanding? So this is how the relations are with respect to Afghan Taliban and Pakistan. With this, we have come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you.